Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to play some games with the new Miraidon deck, and I would say Miraidon is finally good again. It got 2 spots in the top 32, with Mike Gibbs getting 11th place and Ian Robb getting 19th place. So Miraidon is a basic lightning Pokemon. It has the ability that you can search your deck for 2 lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench. It's a great consistency ability. And it also has a decent attack. For lightning colorless, it does 220, and then we have all of our other attackers. Now the main focus of this deck is Iron Hands, that for lightning and 3 colorless has the Amp You Very Much attack that does 120 and you take an extra prize. So we have the 2 double turbos in the future booster capsule and the Heavy Baton to support that attack. Heavy Baton lets us move energy from our Iron Hands or our Iron Thorns when they get knocked out to one of our other Pokemon. And Future Capsule gives future Pokemon free retreat and does 20 more damage. We also have Iron Thorns, that the ability shuts off all non-future abilities from Rulebox Pokemon. So that's pretty good against Lugia, can be decent against Guardy. It's just randomly good. It's good against Charizard, it gives us a chance in that matchup. It also has an attack for Lightning Double Colorless, it does 140. And we get to move an energy to one of our bench Pokemon. So this can help us retain energy, it's very nice. We have Raichu and Raikou as our V Pokemon to hold the Forest Seal Stone. And Raichu is our big hitter. For 2 lightning, it does 60 damage for each lightning we discard off our board. And Raikou for lightning colorless does 20 damage plus 20 more damage for each bench Pokemon. So it can do up to 220. We also have Bloodmoon Ursaluna to finish the game off. That does 240 for 5 colorless, but costs 1 colorless less for each prize our opponent's taken. So at the end of the game, this can one-shot like raging bolts for just 1 energy. It's very nice. We have Zapdos that lets our basic lightning Pokemon do 10 more damage. This can help fix some math on the 230 HP Pokemon or help our Iron Hands do a little more damage. Very nice. And we also, this deck relies on Electric Generator. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, attach up to 2 lightning energy you find there. And yeah, that's pretty much the deck. And let's get into the games. Alright, so we have a Tatsugiri in the active here. I won the coin flip, chose to go second. You usually want to go second with this deck. You can pretty consistently get a turn 1 attack with whatever Pokemon you want. So I thought this was going to be a mirror match, but it is Gardevoir. So in this matchup, we're going to want to go for a turn 1 Iron Hands if we can. I first searched my deck with Artisan, and I see the Iron Bundle in there, and I decide I want to get that, because I would rather knock out either of these bench Pokemon than knock out this Tatsugiri. Really what I would like to knock out is that Ralt. If I could get a Prime Catcher or something, I will choose to knock that out. So I Arven for a Nest Ball. Really, this is all you need to get this deck going, is a Nest Ball and maybe a way to get Squawkabilly or a couple Electric Generators, and you're good to go. I throw down the Raikou to hold the Forest Seal Stone. I use the Iron Bundle right now just so that I can have room to put the Iron Hands on my bench. I want to put it on my bench, attach the double turbo, and Squawkabilly the energy the rest of the hand away. I unfortunately can't draw anything with Mew, but I do miss a generator, so I'm going to use Star Alchemy to grab one and see if I can't hit 2 lightning energy off of it. We end up whiffing, unfortunately, so just have to pass, but it's Guardy, so they shouldn't really do anything this turn anyway. And we do have a boss for next turn. I was considering vacuuming away the stadium, but I really want to save that vacuum to possibly knock out a Drifloon or a Screamtail when they put a bunch of energy on it to help get another 2 prize turn. Because in this matchup, really, ideally, you would like to attack with a couple Iron Hands a couple times, and if you can get a turn where you vacuum away their Bravery Charm to knock out the active, they promote something, hopefully you knock that out too. That's another way to get a 2 prize turn, so you're really hoping to win in 3 turns. You could also set up for a big Raichu attack on their Gardevoir EX, because a lot of times that is going to be the best way for Guardy to deal with an Iron Hands, is to try and knock it out with their EX and and like Monkey Dory the damage over and then knock it out the next turn and figure out a way to take another prize so that they don't prop Heavy Baton and whatnot. I use the Prime Catcher because I have no way to retreat my active Raikou. The reason I retreated last turn into it is because my hand was kind of dead, so I thought I might have to draw some extra cards. It kind of sucks that I ended up having to do that because I had to waste my Prime Catcher on a turn when I would have been much happier using a boss, because you always want to use the boss first if you can. And like the Prime Catcher is so much more flexible. You can get it off Arven, you can get it off of research, but boss is your supporter for turn. So if you're not playing another supporter, that is much better to use. And they also have an energy stuck on this Drifloon, which is pretty nice for me. That makes it a little bit harder for them to hit for like the full amount of damage that they would want to. They get an Arven, and this is where I always forget that Unfair Stamp is a card. I'm like, oh cool, I get to keep my hand. I'm taking another 2 prizes next turn probably. But they have enough energy, it turns out. They have almost all their energy in the discard pile after such like a mediocre start, which is unfortunate. Or it's fortunate for them, it's unlucky for me, I guess. Because sometimes Guardy can struggle to get energy moving into the discard pile. But they didn't have a problem with that this game, so they do just knock me out. And now I am in a really hard spot here with no energy in play. I have a research luckily, and I'm just thinking about using Artisan to get a Zapdos to thin out my deck. And I do just use the Mew, and I draw into an energy. This is really awkward because I don't know if I should attach it or not, because if I research into a double turbo and a generator, I could just start like attach the DTE for turn and start attacking. I'm also here considering just using my Iron Thorns to attack with, because I could knock this out and make it a lot harder for them to get another attack. But I don't attach the energy, I just research, and I get rewarded for it by drawing the double turbo and hitting a couple double energies off of a generator. And I get to take another 2 prizes. So now I just really have to figure out 2 more prizes, and this game is over. This is kind of why Miraidon is so good right now, because it has a good Guardy matchup. It has a good Lugia matchup. The only thing really holding it back right now is the Raging Bolt matchup. But that is hard, but it's winnable. You just really need to kind of like take 3 prizes on a Squawkabilly one turn. If you have to go on, if they force you onto odd prizes, you can knock out a Squawkabilly with Miraidon and then hit into a Raging Bolt and then knock that out with your other Iron Hands and kind of go 3-3. Or you can just go 2-2-2 with bosses and Prime Catchers and use the Bloodmoon Ursaluna to knock out the last Raging Bolt at the end of the game. It like sounds like a nice plan, but it's much harder in practice because they put so much pressure on. They accelerate 2 to the Kirlia, and they are just gonna attack my Iron Hands with their Gardevoir, which means we win because we drew boss. This deck plays a lot of bossing cards. Now, this was a much closer game than it looks like, because if I just didn't draw boss this turn, they would have won next turn by knocking out my Iron Hands and then Scream Tailing my Squawkabilly off the bench. So yeah, but we do end up getting kind of lucky to draw that boss. Alright, so I chose to go second this game, and at first I just thought I was up against a Charizard deck with the Entei in the active, but this does look like it's probably Pidgeot control, which is kind of fine. I just start Miraidon, which is very nice. I can get Iron Thorns, throw it right in the active spot, and they basically can't do anything, which is very nice. It definitely helps this matchup. I always thought the control matchup was kind of decent for Miraidon anyway, but the Iron Thorns definitely makes it a lot better. Now, I play the Arven and use Miraidon's ability before using the generators just to pull as many non-lightning cards out of the deck as I can to increase my odds of hitting lightning energy. And I didn't forest first because I really didn't want to have to forest for an energy card, and that would be counterproductive anyway. But I do only hit 2 energy total off the generators, so I have to grab an energy and just start attacking. I kind of wanted to grab Prime Catcher off of Forest and knock out this Noivern, but in hindsight, I shouldn't really have been afraid because the odds of them having Noivern DTE in their hand are pretty low. But now I'm unfortunately kind of forced to use Iono. I know a lot of people are afraid to use Iono in situations like that, but if you don't want to get into a who can top deck first war with your opponent, even though in this case I probably would have won it because those control decks really are reliant on Pidgeot to like get the cards out of their deck, so they have a lot less supporters and stuff. But I just want to get through this match as fast as possible and keep putting on pressure. I bench the Zapdos and preemptively move an energy to it because I'm sure they play Mimikyu and they Nest Ball it down, and none of my other Pokemon can hit Mimikyu except my Mew and Zapdos. So I'm gonna build that up on the bench, and like over time I'm just debating putting a Bravery Charm on the Zapdos is the only one that makes sense going on, because I want to have the option for a future booster capsule on my Iron Thorns so that I can give it free retreat if they try to stick it in the active without using like a Mawile or a Snorlax. And I'm just trying to figure out what I can do this turn, but there really is nothing that I could do. I was thinking about like trying to count the cards if I could play my hand down, but having 4 energy in my hand, I can't bench Mew and play enough cards to draw anything with it. Now I can boss, I almost bossed the Noibat, but really what I want to do is boss the Pidgeot. What I should have done last turn actually was used Iron Bundle. I could have Nest Balled for Iron Bundle and used it, and I kind of forgot about it because I'm so not used to it being in these Miraidon decks, and now I'm looking at Mew, between Mew and Iron Bundle, and I just end up benching the Mew. I can also start putting energy on that. That's another way to knock out Mimikyu, because you can copy Mimikyu's attack, which places damage counters and doesn't do damage, so we'll go through the effect of Mimikyu. And now that I've knocked out their Pidgeot EX, I can start attacking with whoever I want, because I don't need to leave this Iron Thorns in the active any longer to shut off their abilities. Now this game is kind of a blowout, but I think this is probably how the control matchup goes now with Iron Thorns in the deck. They can't really do anything. Like, yeah, they could have had more counter catchers, but that also wouldn't have done anything, because I have a rescue board on my Miraidon, I have a lightning energy to retreat on my Raikou, and I have my Zapdos fully built up to attack, so I would just attack with that or retreat it. Doesn't really matter. I'm just debating where to put the energy here. I'm probably thinking a little too hard about it, but I do end up putting it on Miraidon just to have an energy on everything. I don't put it on my Mew because I want to build up the Mew, maybe move the double turbo off the Iron Thorns to my Mew. And now I'm just going to grab Raichu with my ability that, and I also want to fill my bench here because I don't want them to play in Erica's Hospitality or anything like that and put the Squawkabilly on my bench. Even though I doubt that this deck plays Erica's, but you gotta start thinking, how could you lose? So I put Raichu down. Now I can one-shot anything no matter what, except for a Mimikyu with this Hero's Cape. I would have to two-shot that as well. But my opponent here is taking quite a bit of time, and they do just pass, so now I can just retreat to my Raichu and knock it out. So this game we're up against Lugia. This is probably the one deck that you would want to go first against, but on the ladder I don't know what I'm playing against, so I just choose second. And the Lugia matchup was really good for Miraidon before, but now it's like just basically free, which is very nice. I kind of hate Lugia. I don't like the deck. The deck's really always been annoying to play against. I shouldn't say I hate it, but The deck's just always been annoying to play against, and it used to be really broken, so I still kind of have this leftover dislike for it from before. And I'm just debating attaching before Iono, and I do end up Ionoing first because I'm probably going to draw an energy on the other side anyway, so I might as well. Now, I get a pretty good hand off of that. I can get all my guys going, I can get Miraidon, I can get Squawk, and draw some more cards and try and get an attack off. I did draw the Switch Cart, which is, I don't know, I could have just attached the booster capsule to my Iron Hands, which would have been nice. And I do end up not being able to attack this turn, but I did kind of commit to a different Pokemon, like start committing to one Pokemon and then switch to another one, because this was kind of the plan the whole time. I just wanted to get Iron Thorns into the active, preferably attacking, but I really didn't care if it was attacking or not. Now, this shuts down the Lugia. If they don't play a Flutter Mane, they are forced to have a boss on the turn that they want to Summoning Star. This puts just an immense amount of pressure onto decks like Lugia and Charizard, where they need their abilities to even start playing the game basically. Charizard can technically get around it if they get an energy attachment on the first turn, but Lugia really needs its abilities, or the best case it needed a double turbo on the Lugia and the Lugia in the active, but then I would have knocked it out. Yeah, I don't really know what they can do. They can try and two-shot me with Cinccino's, maybe over. That's still going to take like 3 turns. Really, if they played Snorlax still, that would be kind of their ideal situation, would be to put a double turbo on the Snorlax and then attach regular energy the next turn and start attacking with it. But they do call for family down another Lugia V. That's smart. They know that they're probably getting knocked out, and I do just Prime Catcher their V-Star. I'm going to knock it out, and yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of satisfying beating Lugia like this. And this is another just kind of blowout game, but once again, this is just kind of how these matchups go. And even though Lugia flopped at NAIC, I've still been running into it everywhere on the ladder. I'm surprised I haven't seen more Lost Box, because usually people like love to play Lost Box, but I haven't been seeing it very much. And I have played a few games with it. I'm probably going to do that Lost Box, the winning list, tomorrow, maybe with some adjustments for how I play it now. But yeah, I haven't seen it very much, but it's very fun. It's very fast. Turn 1 Greninja is always just kind of insane. And they do just gentle slap me for 30. I think they basically know the game's over. They're just kind of memeing. And I boss their Lugia V to make sure that I can't lose. Even if they use Summoning Star, I probably wouldn't have lost anyway, because I can just one-shot their Lugia V-Star very easily, and then take 2 prizes on their Cinccino's with my Iron Hands, and then I just win over the course of 3 turns. So Miraidon is in a pretty interesting spot right now. I think it has a pretty solid Guardy matchup. Of course, you can definitely lose to Guardy. I have beat many Miraidon. Actually, I don't think I ever lost to Miraidon with Guardy. When it got Iron Hands, people were saying it's just a free matchup. I've still never lost to it, but I could definitely see from the Miraidon side how it's very good. But I also did lose a game to Guardy where I just went too fast. They unfair stamped me. I bricked. I had 2 Iron Hands set up, and they stuck a Mimikyu in my active, attacked my Iron Hands 3 times with the Mimikyu, and then bossed up my other Iron Hands, hit into that a couple times, and then knocked out both my Iron Hands in 1 turn with Flutter Mane. It was pretty insane, and that's definitely, if you play Mimikyu and Guardy, that's going to be the play that I would go for if something like that happens. But at that point, there was nothing I could do. I lost the game. My opponent played it very well, but you can definitely lose against Guardy. Lugia is free. The Block Snorlax matchup can definitely get rough if they hit like the flutes or whatever, which kind of sucks. That card's really dumb. But maybe you could fill your bench up with lightning guys and just hope to attach enough times to all of them to where no matter what they bring up, it doesn't matter. It also, at this point, probably has a pretty solid Lost Box matchup because there's not a lot of big one-hitters. Lost Box, of course, can, I don't know, knock you out with one prizers, but it's kind of what Miraidon wants, so I would say this probably has a pretty good Lost Box matchup, Lugia matchup, and Gardevoir matchup. Raging Bolt's really the only thing holding it back, but it is a fun deck. I would try it out, and take care and have a good one.